Yeah, that's the same with me, to be honest. Coincidentally, so be authentic is exactly what I would say here. It's the most important thing, yeah.
And don't
Perfect.
hide that you're a woman.
Welcome to the first episode of our Women in BPM interview series. My name is Carolyn, and in today's discussion, I will be joined by Denitza Fuchs and Joseph Blondeau. A warm welcome to you guys as well, and thank you very much for answering today's questions. So that we can get to know you a bit better, could you please introduce yourself briefly to the audience, starting with Joseph, if that's okay for you?
Thank you very much, Caroline, for the introduction. And thanks, Denitza, to be here with us today for the first episode of Women in BPM series. So my name is Joseph Blondeau. I'm heading the global ARIS product marketing activities. And a little bit about my background before we start with the interviews. I'm French. I have 2 kids. I was an SAP consultant. I was an ARIS consultant. And I am now doing all my best in the product marketing of ARIS, and I really enjoy this international, very innovative environment. And maybe a few words about you, Denitza, now?
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Happy to be here today. So my name is Denitza, and I'm part of Software AG's R&D organization in the Business Transformation Unit. I'm leading several international development teams working on our great product ARIS. And in addition, I'm responsible for the ARIS Cloud Operations team, which operates and manages our various ARIS SaaS offerings for our customers. I love technology. I'm passionate about diversity and female leadership. And personally, about myself, I live in Saarbrücken, Germany, with my family, with my husband, my 2 kids, and my 2 cats.
Wow, so thank you so much to both of you for your introductions. So many of you probably don't know yet that the initiator of the series was Joseph, and she will also be doing the interviewing from the next episodes onwards. So first question to you, Joseph, why women in BPM?
That is a very nice question. Thank you. Well, I think the best answer was Denitza's introduction. But still, maybe, why women in BPM and how it came to my mind. So basically, DI is really not a question mark anymore. We see it all around, all big companies have diversity, inclusion programs all around and are really pushing, different people, different backgrounds. I mean, you see, Denitza is also, she's not a German woman. I'm not a German woman, but we have leadership roles in German companies. Also, that is a diversity topic. So we see female leadership and diverse leadership is really gaining speed. We see a lot of women stepping up, taking up responsibilities in all different areas. But what I see in my role, I mean, I have contacts in my ARIS product marketing roles. I see a lot of customers, a lot of women leaders in BPM areas. They lead big projects in huge companies. And, I see these women and I think, okay, there is something to learn from them. There is something to learn from their stories, from their roads. How did they come to BPM? What did they learn along the way? What kind of challenges did they have? Maybe tackling with families, jobs, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they also see that being a woman can be an advantage in some cases, which I personally believe. And based on all that, I thought, all right, I want to do some kind of interviews. I want to talk to people. I want to show the people working in BPM. So I thought we start with a Women in BPM series and we learn a little bit and we have nice chats together. That's it.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. So to get to know a bit more about your background and your motivations, I think it would be interesting to know why you choose your job, what you like about it, and if there was someone in particular who inspired you. So, Denitza, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Caroline. So I'm originally from Bulgaria, and I studied at the so-called Mathematics and Computer Science High School in Sofia. And this was more than 30 years ago in Eastern Europe during the Cold War. And we had indeed a computer room there, which was equipped with Bulgarian computers, and they were named Pravets. So these were more or less IBM Apple replicas at that time. And we indeed had some computer lessons in Pascal, Basic, Assembler. And I was really fascinated by those machines, yeah, even though they were at this time black and green, yeah, as usual at this time. And actually what we were doing with them, we did the school tasks there, which were mostly theoretical ones, like outputting some computations using the formulas and equations which we had then in our math lessons. At home, I didn't have a computer, unfortunately, and I was often visiting my mom's work to use the computer in her office. And she was working at a scientific engineering institute where the work atmosphere was quite relaxed, the culture, and this was tolerated, that kids were visiting work. And yeah, so this is where my passion originates from. Later, I studied computer science in Saarbrücken, and during my studies, during my university studies, I had the chance to start working as a student employee in the IT industry at a company which was later acquired by Software AG. So this is how I stayed here in Software AG. And after my studies, I continued as a full-time employee working with the Software AG's R&D team. So what do I like about my job? I love the domain. So I'm passionate about technology, as I already mentioned. I'm passionate about cloud and, of course, about BPM. And this all comes together in my daily work. So also for me, as also Joseph mentioned, it was always very important to work in an international environment, to be part of diverse teams with different nationalities, background, gender, experience, etc. And using new innovative technologies together with great people to create value and make our customers happy. This is what makes me love my job.
Wow, really fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing it. So moving on to Joseph.
Hey, that's very different. I think we took the right decision to have you and me, Denitza, because I had a computer when I was a child, and I started to program some funny games, so like Pac-Man and this kind of things. But I was not the kind of the IT freak, so I was very much into the international business, marketing, and that's how I came basically to the IT, how I came to ARIS, because when I finished my studies, which I also started in my home country, which is France, I then went to Saarbrücken, and I also went to Cambridge. So, and in Saarbrücken, well, I basically heard about this tool called ARIS and business process management. So that was the first contact. Well, and when I finished, I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I wanted to be really in this international environment. So I didn't want to stay in France. And I basically at some point applied for an SAP consulting position at IDShare. And that's where I started. And I think that's what gave me this passion for processes, also for the IT. But for me, it's more like the tool, the underlying stuff. But the processes are these are what I love, and that's where I learned that. Because even when I was implementing an SAP system, it was always like, okay, you need to understand the people, you need to understand their ways of working, you need to understand their processes, how they do it right now, what they do right now, why. And help them to change that and to support it with a specific IT system, whichever it is. And that's what I really loved. And at that point of time, as a consultant, you always have, big teams. You always work together. You are, before COVID, you were always on site 5 days a week. Was like kind of your family. And I think that's what really brought me this passion for project processes and being together. So, and that's where my motto really comes. So I always say, well, do it with passion or don't do it at all. And I think that's what still sticks today to how I deal with my daily job.
Okay, thank you so much to both of you for answering the first question. So I would say to find out a bit more about your personality and your general thoughts, we have prepared a little game called This or That. So you will both get two terms and have to spontaneously choose between them. So who wants to go first? Denitza?
Yeah, I can start. Let me start. All right.
Okay, so ready? So first one, risk or compliance?
Oh my God, this one is difficult. Both. That's a very bad start. No, risk. It's always when you take risk that you you can you get to the things that you never knew that you could do. So risk.
Perfect. Okay, so next one, morning or evening person?
I would say I'm a very boring person, so it's morning. Yeah, I like
Early
to wake up
bird.
in the morning, early in the morning, and what I really love is to have 1 hour ahead of whole meetings to get my work done. It's not always working, but that's exactly what I would love to have. And maybe one side note, I'm such a morning person that my son, who is 11, well, is going to bed later than me now.
Okay, so next one, car or bike?
Bike. Yeah, bike. Yeah, I strive for sustainability. I try to do my best to not to leave too much of a footprint on our earth, which is not possible, but I try to reduce it. So bike as soon as I can. And if necessary, it's an e-bike if it's like this one.
Okay, and last one, BPMN or EPC?
That's a very good one. Well, I mentioned I started as a SAP consultant and ARIS consultant. It was more than 20 years ago, so you can imagine I will say EPC. So EPC is my world. I grew up with EPC, and for me, it's much easier to model in EPC, but for sure, BPMN is a very nice modeling standard and is very useful to many people.
Okay, so thank you. So Denitza, you next. iPhone or Android?
iPhone. I've never used Android, to be honest. I'm not even sure I can manage using it. Yeah.
Okay, Facebook or Instagram?
Neither of both. Actually, TikTok.
Wow, that's cool. That's even better. Do you prefer car or bike?
Car. Joseph, don't kill me.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine.
It depends where you live, Denitza. I live in the city. It's easy.
Yeah, I live in a small village and it's not that easy.
Yeah. Can imagine that. And last one, wine or beer? Or do you even drink alcohol?
Wine, that's for sure. So I didn't manage to get used to beer in all my years in Germany, and I think I will never be able to.
So which one is your favorite? Do you prefer white or red wine?
My favorite glass of wine is a glass of wine with Joseph together.
Oh, thank you. And you know what, Denitza? Funny thing, I'm also more than 20 years in Germany now, which is strange to think about, but I also don't get used to beer, so I stick to wine. So it's obviously a problem of us.
Thank you so much. So, since we are here at the Women in BPM series, I would like to ask you a few BPM related questions. So, let's get started with the question what BPM is, or how you would explain it to someone who never heard of it before. So, Denitza, do you want to go first?
Yeah, what is BPM? So actually I had such a similar situation recently where I had to explain what I'm doing to my mother-in-law. And I was, struggling a bit, how to explain it very simple. And I think it is, okay, I did it in German, but now I'll try it in English. So, what is BPM? BPM is describing, understanding, analyzing, and improving the way a company or an organization in general operates.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Joseph, do you want to add anything?
Yes.
Or
Yes, because I'm the marketing person, No, but I have an example I always use because it's a question I can remember. My father was always asking and not getting the clue. So basically, when I describe BPM, it's more, it's like Denitza said, but maybe with even simpler words. So it's really, it's something you do. So in our case, it's something a company does, but it's a kind of a procedures of follow up of different steps that you do to achieve a specific thing. And my preferred example is the coffee process. So if you want to get your coffee in the morning, you have your coffee creation process. Basically, you have a goal. You want your coffee because it's in the morning and it's awful. And then you want to do it best and the fastest way, and you want to do it the way it tastes good. So, and that's basically that. And once you start to think about it, you have different steps to do that. And you may want to analyze this or maybe optimize so you don't run all around the kitchen for having your coffee, but having just one space where you have everything and it's getting fast and ready on time.
that's a really nice explanation. I would definitely remember that.
For your mother-in-law and this kind of stuff.
Especially my grandma is actually the one who who is always like, yeah, what are you doing?
The coffee process or the tea process, depending on the people.
That's really good example. So, Joseph, why do you think women are so successful at business processes?
Men are successful too. So as we are doing this Women in BPM series, it's not about, men are not doing that well. Many men are doing that well. What I think is that there are two things that women mostly have. It's generalizing. It's not always true. Is this empathy, emotional intelligence, and these relationship capacities. I think both topics are very important for BPM because, as mentioned before, even if BPM is, at some points you need to execute a process, you need to put it through the IT. At first, it's about talking to people, getting to learn them to understand how they work, why they do this kind of stuff, what kind of thinking they have. You collaborate with them, so it's kind of a relationship thing. And you have also sometimes to persuade them to optimize, to change management is a very emotional topic, because if you did your coffee always the same way in the morning and someone tells you, well, you should change that, it's much better than at first you think, I do what I want. So I think this is something that works quite well with women. And also it's in the same area, it's this relationship capacity. Because what I see also in the project, the BPM project, the center of excellence that we see in the companies, sure, they have their budget, they have their planning, but mostly these are very small teams working for a big organization. So at some point, you need to be able to create a relationship with the different departments to get them persuaded. They also have a benefit in working for you at this point of time. And these are the two areas where I see that it's probably, or it's most often an advantage to be a woman.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Denitza, do you agree with that? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I fully agree with that. Thanks, Joseph. So I also think that women tend to have flexible mindset, which is very important in BPM, where flexibility and adaptability can be crucial for the business. And also, in addition to the networking aspects, which Joseph just mentioned, I think also another factor is that because women are not too proud to ask someone the way. And this is one major aspect of continuous improvement, which is also a key part in BPM.
I love this one. Maybe I can add something. It's also about ask people and also say, okay, we did it wrong. Let us try again and let us take another way.
Yeah.
I think that works there too.
Okay, so thank you for that question. So, since you are both female leaders, it would be interesting to know what you think are the biggest challenges for women in this position, and if there was one lesson that you've learned along your journey. So, Denitza, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, what are the challenges? Yeah, it sounds maybe trivial, but I would say that still there are many women who still must decide between career and children. And we need better solutions for daycare and flexible working hours throughout the industry. And if we lose women as employees, we simply waste enormous potential for the entire economy and society. So I'm convinced about that. And in addition, diverse teams, as mentioned a couple of times, are more successful. So various studies show this since many years. And thus, it is not only a social, but also a business critical topic. So women need also visible role models who inspire them to pursue their goals and to believe that it is possible to make a career and to have family at the same time, and also to pursue their goals and also believe that everything is possible actually. Yeah? So there are no men jobs and women jobs. Yeah. And also, as mentioned, building networks is really crucial to support each other, to inspire each other, and to increase each other's visibility.
That's so true. Thank you so much. That was awesome. So moving on to Joseph.
Well, here again, and I promise we didn't prepare that. I fully agree with you, Denitza. So diversity, and one of the biggest challenges that women still have is the decision between career and job, or basically, struggling with both and trying to get everything done. Having at the same time mostly very high requirements to ourselves, which makes it sometimes very difficult. We want to be the best mommy, the best manager, the best partner, the best whatever. Well, I do think, or I try to learn that perfection is not the goal, but progress is the goal. So I think in this area, there's a lot to do. And I just read a study from McKinsey that really also shows that it is still a challenge, and also for leadership functions. So not only for just women in, let's say, normal jobs, but in leadership functions. The pandemic has been really very difficult for many women, as well. They were staying home, working from home, maybe in some kind of IT jobs as we have. So with nice situation where you can work from home, but still you have the children in the background, you have the responsibility. And I think that's a big area. And I think you also asked about some kind of a leadership lesson that I learned. And I would say for myself, I would like to know yours, Denitza, by the way. It's really about leading by example. So I think for me, that's the best leadership lesson. So really try to be your best, be authentic, be honest, ask people for their support. Don't think because you're the leader, you're the best one. All that kind of stuff all plays into this lead by example thing for me. So be really you, be a nice person, and it always come back. That's what I learned.
Yeah, that's the same with me, to be honest, coincidentally. So be authentic is exactly what I would say here. It's the most important thing, yeah.
And don't
Perfect.
hide that you're a woman. So this
Yeah.
is something we should really, we are women.
Wear high heels, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so thank you so much to both of you. Really good lessons. So to finish it all off, I would like to know, what do you think will be the next hot topic that everyone will talk about? So who wants to go first?
Let Denitza first. I already know my answer.
Yeah, there are many topics, so it's really difficult to decide, but I'm convinced that in the next 10 years, we will have enormous development in a lot of areas like a blockchain, quantum computing, all these areas. Also in the medical industry, there will be enormous developments in terms of artificial intelligence and all these things. So I'm very excited to live in these times. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Joseph, what's your hot topic for the next few years?
And here again, we see the difference between Denitza and myself. So it was not all prepared, as you see. Yeah, for me, it's not the next thing. It's already coming up. It's sustainability. So I think it's completely reshaping the markets, the ways company are thinking and reshaping their processes. Probably the way we will live. I hope it will change a lot of things because it needs to be changed. And I'm excited to, a little bit anxious to live in this world, feeling the responsibility to, to hand over something good to my children.
Okay, so thank you so much to both of you. That was such an interesting conversation and a good start to our Women in BPM series. And have a nice day.
For hosting the session. Thank you, Joseph, for the nice
Thanks,
session.
Denitza, for coming. Thanks, Caroline, for taking over the interview role. And yeah, to everyone watching, listening, whatever, yeah, stay tuned because we have a lot of great women coming up in the next episode.